too. And this kind of
Okay.
topsy-turvy weather is like a
All right, we're gonna figure it all out. Stand by.
It's like a losing
Try to
battle.
Try to call again, please.
All day with a lint roller in my hand.
Yeah,
Hi.
I try to brush pilot Saturday, Sundays,
Excuse me.
Wednesday nights.
Excuse me. Okay, I know that James Ferris doesn't hear us. What happens if I dial the number? Does the world won't blow up if I dial the number, will it?
Should it?
Gary,
Yes?
the world won't blow up if I dial the number.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's just me echo though.
Oh yeah, that might be a bit nerve-wracking for the
Gotta be
people
connected,
listening.
guys.
Yes, it's hot everywhere.
Gosh.
Oh, I hate.
See if there are people out there in the house.
So we're going to get to order shortly. Is there anybody in some sort of virtual capacity? Telephone, VTC?
Yes.
Anyone? That means somebody respond, please.
I'm gonna find out, Gary.
Please.
Yeah.
Well, is she gonna let somebody know?
She was supposed to be here by now.
Susanna?
You accidentally hung up, Holly. They're dialing back in.
Well, that's what I was asking you.
Well, hello everybody. I'm Teresa Kearney.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I'm
Hello,
really
Teresa.
doing the just for
Teresa.
deaf and hard of hearing. So where would you like me to
You
sit?
can sit there. I'll sit there.
No. I can
A
sit
little
down here.
lower.
This is perfect, actually. I wasn't
Aren't you
sure
gonna
if
be
we
part
were.
of the discussion?
Yes.
You should be down here. Come on, I'll move it. Let's start the show together. All right, so
Okay, we're dialed back in.
Think we're ready to go?
Yes.
Well, fantastic.
Hi, this is Erica Hall. I can now hear in the room.
Is she virtual?
We had to
Virtual.
dial back in, but we're getting ready to get started.
I'm not going to specify what means, but virtual. Such is the technology at CMS. Well, thank you for
It's interfering. Anybody have cell phones?
yeah.
It may be
we're working on it.
interfering with the conference.
No, that's somebody moving.
So I would request as a housekeeping matter, if there's any sort of a telephone, or if you're, whatever means that you're here virtually, put it on silence. So my name's Gary Norman. I'm incredibly honored to be chair of the Employee Resource Group for People with Disabilities here at CMS, both in terms of employees with disabilities and managers with disabilities. We have a product brand or evolving product brands. Our major one that I think a lot of people know about are these Lunch and Learns. So we have them every few months, pretty much every quarter. We have one in February, one set of them. We have one set here in February, and then we'll have another set in April. My goal is to really try to facilitate discussion about technology in February and April, and then Susanna and I will probably really be pushing sort of, and whether this is the best word or not, soft skills in August and October. We don't have topics set for August, but in October, Susanna and I typically do something about etiquette type issues. Our other major product brand is our Disability Information Form, which this year is slated for October 25th. And then we have an evolving product brand, which I think there's a lot of excitement in the team, as well as people are starting to hear about it through OEOCR, which is a video that we're producing in partnership with CMS Studio and Communications. Our goal is to develop the team, develop the cast, the script, as you will, and then roll that out in October during Annual Disability Month. So February is our first of the 2 parts on technology. In February this month, we'll talk about sort of technology as a tool for producing inclusion. Then in April, our friend Aaron Allen, who I hope is on the line on the telephone or in some virtual capacity, will be following up more substantively on kind of the policy and the technical aspects of Section 508, which we deem as a continued very important conversation to have here at the agency. Today, I'm honored to have, besides myself, I'm honored to co-facilitate with Susanna Lang of OEOCR. We're proud to have two main speakers here in the room, Mara Bonds, who is a Section 508 tester and assistive technology lead, a contractor. We also have Teresa Crowley to my left, who is a certified sign language interpreter who also works in OEOCR. Teresa and Mario, my friends, they'll be discussing in a Q&A format or a talk show, if you will, the idea of technology as inclusion. We also have Susanna Lang, which I'll be asking her the questions, talking about a couple things. Number one, is this topic of disability and producing more inclusion of people with disabilities, managers or employees, is that part of the larger conversation of D&I or diversity and inclusion at the agency? And then, of course, we always try to make sure that we foster discussion if somebody needs an accommodation or if they don't know the process, what does that process look like? I'll start two ways. Number one, we'll discuss the goals real briefly. Number two, we'll give 30 seconds background. Number three, we'll jump into the questions. But before that, let me ask, is there any questions, comments, concerns? Guess not. Are there people on the line that can hear us?
Yes, this is Sonia Bowen.
This is
Fantastic.
Patrick. This is Patrick. We can hear you.
Thank you,
Yes, this
Patrick.
is Judy Weaver. I
Thank you,
can hear
Sonia. Others who are on the line.
And Dorsey with AEG.
Thank you, sir.
Justin Pepper with OSM.
Thank you, sir.
Aaron's here, Gary.
Aaron, thank you, sir. I really appreciate you speaking today. Of course, it's very limited in a limited capacity. But we thought Section 508
Yeah.
really has a natural connection, so we want to make sure that we get you teed up for April.
Tori Leach with CMS Parking.
Tori, thank you.
Judy Weaver at Manta Regional Office.
Judy, one of our executive board members, our teammates. Thank you, Judy.
Jim Veras, Partner Relations.
Thank you, good sir. So that's probably everybody, I would sense. Let me just say that the Disability Employee Resource Group is incredibly honored, and I'm honored to have a team of executive board members. Susanna Lang, most especially as my vice chair, Judy Weaver as our communications person, LaTanya Phipps here as the senior advisor.
Erica Hall, OSSO.
Thank you, nice to see you. You know, the head of the pyramid is usually the least important person. It's everybody underneath that you get to facilitate, coordinate with. These are all exceptional ladies. So thank you for your service and helping me to maybe do something well this year. Susanna, before I jump into anything, do you have any questions or comments?
So just thank everybody from dialing in, and if you're in the regions or DC, thank you for your time, and we look forward to educating you on technology.
Can we do something about that, Susanna? Can we silence the phone, please? Thank you. Do something about that. Well,
Can everyone mute?
can everybody please silence their phone? Thank you. It's not that difficult. Number one is Disability Employees Resource Group. We exist as a ERG here at the agency to foster discussion, try to partner with the agency managers and employees to build an inclusive workforce. Like I said, we do that through the product brands, we do that through fostering discussion and also trying to broker people together when there are issues or concerns. I've been really pleased to take over the group, learning from Ronza Hoffman as our most recent past chair, who really did the heavy lifting in getting the DERG together. And I'm also very pleased to have all these people in the room today. Today's Lunch and Learn will talk about technology as inclusion. So we know that technology has evolved during a course of time. Assistive technology is our topic for today under this umbrella of technology. Assistive technology is any kind of a device that a person may need as an accommodation here at the agency, or may be requested as a reasonable accommodation here at the agency. They also more specifically refer, and somewhat this is the focus today, people with sensory disabilities, hearing loss, vision loss. These technologies allow such persons to communicate, to express, to access information in a productive way as to be full employees within or fully included, fully accessible within the workplace. Of course, it's evolving, it's getting better. What we have as assistive technology yesterday is not what we will have tomorrow or today for that fact. In my own life, I talked about this at UB Law School yesterday, which even if it's tangential, I always try to educate people who may not have the experience all of us have with disabilities, that would say when I was a kid or when I was in law school even in college, a logic book where I was talking about something yesterday, I said a logic book 101 type thing would have been on 40 cassettes. Today I can download that, just as one example, to my iPhone. So technology is getting better. It's helping us to tackle more issues, to build a better, more inclusive workplace. Technology in the sense of both the computer itself, text-to-speech software, and all the many different kinds of apps or products or platforms that you would find on a laptop or a desktop, or certainly other kinds of technologies, video phone, cellular phone, mobile devices, if you will. With that as background, A, it's really great to interact with these devices, but B, just anybody in general knows that technology has its benefits and its challenges. That's kind of a goal for today's talk about what are the benefits and functions of technology, what are its frustrations, especially in terms of the workplace. How can we broker more conversation? How can we be a better resource to employees and managers with disabilities here at the agency? And while this is jumping ahead, I think just because I think it's a global question, I'll go to Susanna first, and then I'll have Susanna ask our questions to Mario and Teresa. We'll finish with Aaron. My first question to you, Susanna, and then we'll get to your questions after all of them, Susanna. The first global question of your questions is, so like I said, is this conversation and we're trying to facilitate about diversity and inclusion in terms of disability, part of the larger D&I movement or larger D&I goals that we're trying to, in many laudable ways, facilitate, translate, advance here at the agency?
Yes, it is, Gary. And CMS strives to provide equal access to all. And within that, it provides more employees to retain employees and their satisfaction levels, and also the morale rises within the CMS culture. So it is definitely on our radar, and we are a very diverse and inclusive CMS. So
that's great to hear. I think that's true. I have had a very productive career here. Certainly, it's continuing to develop, but partnering with agency optives and partners like OEOCR, with my own manager, which does, I think, a very good job at providing an inclusive workplace in terms of at least dog issues anyways and technology issues. And, I think I'm the better for having these partnerships. This is not necessarily a prep question, but should we, or is there a way we could do some data collection about satisfaction levels, I guess, of employees with disabilities?
Well, we are, they have exit surveys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that we can collect data. Mm-hmm. And actually the Veterans Assistance Committee we met with them, OECR met with them, and we may be adding some additional questions to see how we can retain employees that we currently have, as well as sending out a satisfaction survey.
So let's key up Teresa and Mario here.
Okay. Well, this is questions to all the panelists. What are some examples of assistive technology employees or managers might observe at CMS?
Okay, so this is Mario Bonds. I can start from the visually impaired perspective. Some of the technology, if in fact you are working with a visually impaired employee, that you may see is a screen reader, which is a software that converts all text displayed on a computer screen into speech. You may see things like braille embossers, which obviously is a machine that converts printed text to embossed braille. You may see magnification software or magnifiers for individuals who classify as visually impaired but have low vision, that still have some residual sight. You may hear and see talking smartphones at CMS, and CMS has moved to the iPhone for its workforce. That's a few examples. I'll pass it to Teresa.
Okay, well, and I'll just kind of piggyback on what you and Gary were saying earlier, that the technology that we have is constantly evolving. So when we first started out, everyone had a TTY, and a TTY is a teletype device that you put a telephone handset in, and the modem will make sounds for each letter. And those letters are then sent over the phone lines to another person who has another TTY with a phone modem that hears those sounds, and the sounds will be broken down by the machine to give you like the printed text. Well, as of 10 years ago, that's all anybody was using, and that was fantastic. You could call the doctor, and you could call your coworker or anyone else to be able to communicate, and now that's a thing of the past. It's almost obsolete. Now we have upgraded to a video phone system, and that is simply where you have, whether it be your laptop or a standalone unit, video phone that you can sit in front of you, and when you dial out, if you are identified as a person who is deaf or hard of hearing, your telephone number is automatically identified within our system, and it is a three-way call that is created between a sign language interpreter and the person that you're trying to dial, and it's automatic. As soon as the line goes out, you automatically have an interpreter right there in front of you, and you can communicate in your preferred language using sign. We also have a webcam for the laptop, so that those standalone units now are portable, so people can take their laptop with them and use the internal integrated webcam to be able to be seen, so that they can make calls from their laptop. We also have what we call Z5 software, and Z5 is just the brand that we're using. There are several vendors who offer similar services, and that basically is the same thing as the video phone, but it's the software that we use within the computer. For those folks who do not use manual sign language, we do have several people here in the agency that use oral transliteration, which means they don't use manual sign language at all. And for those folks, we still have the TTY, so they can still type and still see it on their system. We also have, of course, everyone has Link, so you can type and have instant messages that pop back and forth. But we also have an UBI Duo system, and that is two very similar to laptop devices that sit side by side that allow people to type in to one, and it comes up on the screen, and the other person types into the other, and that comes up on the screen simultaneously, so that they can converse together. That's especially helpful for our health unit in cases of an emergency. So if you have a nurse that is tending to someone that is ill or injured, they can communicate right away and not have to wait for an interpreter or wait for a video phone unit. And that's basically where we are right now, and we're constantly on the lookout for new and exciting technologies that come out, and we'll test them. I would like to add, we also have CART services, which stands for Communication Access Real Time. It's kind of like you see the closed captioning on TV, except that someone is actually sitting there typing it while we're having our meetings. So we also do have that available for people who do not use sign language, or for those that do. And that's especially helpful for folks that are latent deaf, meaning they became deaf late in life and don't know how to use sign language and do not utilize lip reading at all.
So I've seen CART in use at conferences.
Sure.
Should we always, at a conference, if we're using CART, also have a sign language interpreter as well?
Well, I would say that it depends on the people that have been invited to the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing that we want to do is foolishly utilize federal funding. So we don't want to pay for a service where no deaf people are going to be attending. So if everyone that is invited to the conference, and it is a closed conference, and none of those people have requested an accommodation and none of those people are deaf, we would not want to employ that service because it costs money to do so. However, if it's an open meeting and we're not sure who can pop by at any time, then absolutely we would want to have CART service. We would also want to have sign language interpreting at every one of those meetings.
Is one better than the other? Or it's just a fact that they sort of approach the same disability in a couple different complementary ways?
Well, it depends on the individual that is accepting the service. So if the individual that's attending is deaf and or hard of hearing and they use sign language, then they would probably look at the interpreter. If another employee is deaf or hard of hearing but they do not use sign, they're only using oral transliteration and or lip reading, then they would want to use the CART service. So it's a preference. That's why we have both.
I see.
Yeah, and we've had many meetings where we have one sign language interpreter, one oral transliterator, and the CART service is running all at the same time, and we have, 15 different deaf people, and 3 of them are looking here, and 5 are looking here, and 10 are looking here. So.
Okay. What is a benefit of technology and what are its frustrations?
That's a great question. I think it depends on what type of technology you're talking about. Obviously, the benefits for technology, especially for individuals who are visually impaired, are paramount. You look at a situation where maybe just 2 decades ago, you wouldn't have thought of a blind person or a visually impaired person being able to be a computer engineer or to do a lot of computer-based jobs. That has changed to where the sky is almost the limit in terms of visually impaired persons being able to be computer programmers or what have you, independently word process, search databases, search the internet, mobile bank, or you have it. So technology, the biggest benefit is that it's opened up a whole new world of accessibility and independence for this community, and I think that that is remarkable. As a person who depends on assistive technology both professionally and personally, it's great that part of diversity and inclusion is constantly growing. Some of the frustrations obviously would be that a lot of the technology is economically unreachable for most people. When you look at a brand new copy of, say, a software like JAWS, which is one of the leading screen readers, we talked about text-to-speech software earlier, one of the leading screen readers in the industry. Well, a person who has recently gone blind and is new to the world, think about the price of a laptop or a desktop computer, and then you got to consider the $1,100 price tag there would be to go along with that if in fact you wanted to use one of the leading screen readers like JAWS. So whereas a sighted person might be able to go to Walmart and drop $350 or $450 on a starter laptop, a blind person would be looking at $1,500 to $1,700 to have the same kind of access. Now, thankfully, in the workplace, there are programs in place to ensure that employees can get these kind of technologies. But sometimes when we're talking about outside of the government, it becomes a frustration because when an employer, although they're not going to say it, sometimes when employers consider hiring visually impaired persons, that price tag unfortunately can sometimes be a deterrent. So I'd say that would be the biggest frustration is the cost and in the access for it. Teresa?
Well, I'm going to start with the frustration first because I think that it allows us to understand the benefit a lot better. The frustration with having to, if anybody has ever taken a TTY call from a deaf or hard of hearing person before, the operator introduces you to the call and then types and says, hold just a moment, your person is typing, and you have this huge lag time. And so you're kind of like, and in the day-to-day world that we live in now, when we attend meetings, everybody wants to be in and out fast. So having to, quote unquote, deal with that awful lag time with the TTY, that was a big, huge frustration with the deaf community. Although it did allow for access, it wasn't equal access. Well, today, the best benefit of having a video phone and some of the much more, the technology that has increased dramatically, now we have a video phone that is literally within seconds of being instantaneous communication. So the greatest thing that has come out of this for folks that work here at CMS, I have one deaf employee that we provide service for. She is the leader of her team, and she has had meetings for 2 years with employees and contractors. And they finally decided to have an in-person meeting. And as she started signing and we started interpreting for her, some of the people in the meeting said, oh my gosh, I never knew you were deaf. Because the communication was so seamless with the interpreter and the video phone, they never knew that she was deaf or hard of hearing. Had no idea until she started signing. So that makes it really cool, and that's our goal. Our ultimate goal is to make all of the communication and all of the access completely seamless so that there's no downtime, there's no lull time. I will add that one other frustration is that this communication, while awesome, it can only speak for one person at a time. And we here at CMS tend to talk on top of each other in meetings. And that's, human nature, what have you, but we're still trying to get past that. So especially not out to all those managers, if you can kind of control your meetings and understand that it's difficult for really anyone to understand, but it's impossible for deaf or hard of hearing people to get the message from more than one person at the same time. And I think that's pretty much it.
So to summarize, I think perhaps the frustrations for both communities would perhaps be the cost of, just in general, not necessarily even here, but in general, the cost of these technologies. And then what I hear you saying, Teresa, and from my own perspective, this is true for JAWS too, there's some lag time to all these technologies,
Sure,
or some coordination, some training aspect of it.
Now, I will say that for the deaf and hard of hearing, legislation has been passed through the FCC that allows for those folks to receive all of their equipment for free. So I'm going to encourage you guys to get out there and lobby for your rights.
Well, that's interesting because I've always wondered why wasn't there some sort of government subsidy or some sort of government-run program that would allow the technology to be free, especially we're talking about a necessity for people.
Right.
In order for people to feel included in society, what have you, we're talking about a necessity because the access wouldn't be there
Absolutely.
otherwise. And even at the state level, it's sort of like the state will help you get technology,
Sure.
but they'll give you a loan and you got to pay it back.
Sure.
You know what I
Right.
mean? So that sort of thing.
So you're sort of making, there's an argument to be made that there's a quantifiable benefit if we facilitate better access to assistive technologies. In our case, Mario, a vision loss type technology.
Exactly. Or even whether it's government or non-government, if we can somehow encourage manufacturers to sort of, effectively do what Apple has done, and that is
Right.
that, a product is accessible right out of the box, effectively accessible. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that sort of thing. A comment you made earlier regarding the shock of someone saying, "Oh, I didn't know you were deaf." It takes me back to an experience when I was working for the Department of Transportation, and I was in charge of payroll for like 30 people. And then when one person found out about it, they said, You do the payroll? Yeah, but you're blind. I said, well, has your paycheck ever been wrong?
So, but the benefit is the fact that it's building this seamless inclusion, I guess, in the workplace.
Yeah,
Other personal contexts as well.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Susanna?
Okay. Well, before I go to Aaron, I just want to put a plug out there. If you want to request a reasonable accommodation, you would dial 410-786-5110. We're also located at central office at N2 2001. Or you could email reasonable accommodation program at cms.hhs.gov. Aaron, I have a question. We know that you'll speak more on Section 508 during your Lunch and Learn in April, but can you please explain the correlation between assistive technology and Section 508? Aaron, are you there?
I hope he's there because that was a great question.
I can take the question.
I was going to
Yeah,
say,
one
Mary,
of you
you
take
seem
it,
pretty
Mary.
well versed in that.
Okay, so I'll.
The phone line's open?
Did we mute the line?
Did you mute the
There
line?
were
Did we
more
push the
recently.
mute button earlier?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so just so there's some context, I'll take the question for Aaron. I am this Section 508 tester, so I'm essentially Aaron's deputy. Aaron, is that you?
Hey, we're on
Could be.
Aaron, I
Can
hear
you
your
guys hear us?
I hear your voiceover talking, so I think we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, the rest of us on the phone were trying to chime in too on some questions, so I think we have some real poor communication issues. But to answer your question, Susanna, Section 508 pertains specifically to electronic information systems, things that you use a computer for or access a computer with. For example, documents, web pages, particular hardware and software components that have to allow themselves to be available to developers for assistive technology usage. Assistive technology itself, and we've talked, you guys talked a lot about the high-end good stuff, screen readers, magnifications. But assistive technology in its thinking is any technology, anything that assists individuals to conduct activities that are utilized that makes it comparable to a person without a disability. There are keyboards that are designed for one-handed individuals. There are certain type of mice and tracking balls. This is all assistive technology. When CMS is upgrading to a new desk for users, those desks are able to rise and be lowered for persons with mobility issues. That's assistive technology. So when assistive technology is a broad scope approach of using technology of any kind to assist individuals who could not be helped otherwise. 508 is very specific. It talks about information technology. It talks about the communications technology and those platforms. And that's where the difference lies. That helps?
It does.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Aaron.
Okay, now, on the phone there was a guy named Patrick, and he had a question, but I don't think he could be heard.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, may have lost him. My question goes out to the young lady who was speaking regarding reasonable accommodations for hearing impaired. You had mentioned that in closed meetings, um, sign language interpretation is available upon request. Is that an issue when it comes to self-identification for individuals? I know OEOCR's position on that was kind of stout in the past. Has it changed?
Well, we try to be as inclusive as humanly possible, but at the same time being a good keeper of federal funds. So because sign language interpreters, that is a very costly service, we do ask that the request be made. You do not have to identify yourself when you walk in the room, but if a request is made for a specific meeting, we ask what type of language you would like to use, because there are, kind of a variety of different languages that we can use. We can use American Sign Language or Signed Exact English or Pigeon Signed English, so there are a variety of those. And we also ask, date and time of the event and venue and things like that. So open meetings are covered. Closed meetings, meaning you're only by invite, you can still must request an interpreter to provide service, but you don't have to identify yourself when you walk in the room.
So,
Understood. Thank you.
as a follow-up to that question, in the event that you have a closed meeting and the initial participants are not someone who needs a sign language interpreter, but for some reason a component decides to switch a participant, or they need someone to replace a participant, and that replacement does need that assistance, how quick is the turnaround in making a request? So can you handle last-minute requests for accommodations in that way?
We can and we do, but of course we request as much advance notice as possible. And to be honest with you, it really depends on the day. We may have one day where I'm not booked up and I'm doing administrative things. Someone will call me and they'll say, Teresa, is someone available? I say, yes, I am. I'll be right there in 2 minutes. We may have another day where we have 16 back-to-back, like literally simultaneous meetings. I've called every agency that we work with and simply everyone is out. There's all-day trainings that are happening all over, there may be, and it could be a random Tuesday or a Thursday one day, and just interpreters are not available, and that means that some meetings will not be covered. So what we try to do is to facilitate that by utilizing and recommending use of other technologies like video phone service. And I'll just add that with the video phone, the FCC that we were talking about earlier, Mario, when we said that they provide the video phone service,
Right.
well, they also provide payment for interpreting service for video relay. So that means that any deaf or hard of hearing person can use their video phone. They can call in if that number, if that meeting has a WebEx number. And so if at the last minute somebody calls and says, I need an interpreter and I don't have one to provide to them, then I would recommend that they call using VRS. And if there is no WebEx number, we'll call and set up a WebEx number and get the phone set up as soon as humanly possible in that room. And so they can call in and use the video relay.
So there are some fail-safes that do exist in the
That's what we try our best.
event that would have come up.
That's
That's
right.
great.
Hey guys, can you hear me? This is Patrick. I was trying to speak earlier. I got disconnected.
Sure, go ahead, Patrick.
Well, okay, so hello everybody. We've gone ahead with the meeting. I was trying to say something in regards to Link and Windows. You had said that it was good accessibility for people. I'd like to add as well that they have wonderful accessibility through webcams through Link that I've used in meetings. I've led some meetings. I'm able to bring my I'm able to bring my laptop into any room. Anyone who's working from home, oftentimes a lot of people are working from home, they're able to connect into the meeting through Link. And I just wanted to let you guys know I thought that Link was a really good tool. We use it for chat. I use it for video phone during PowerPoint presentations. The only one drawback is we need to refresh everyone's laptops because of the Ethernet cord. And so some people that have the refresh have them, and some people that don't have the refresh don't have them. So that's one of the problems that we have been facing. Some of them only have HMDI cables, and so there's a problem with the audio with that. So that's something that would need to be addressed and tried to be fixed. That's one of the drawbacks with Link.
I'm sorry.
Link also does. I'm sorry.
Patrick, are you saying that some of the new refresh laptops do not have Ethernet cable?
Yes, some of the refreshed laptops do not have an Ethernet cable. And sometimes when you book another room, a room will have an Ethernet or HDMI cable. But when you bring your laptop somewhere, they don't give you an Ethernet cable. But you do have an HDMI cable. But the problem is the audio gets messed up through mixed up through the PowerPoint, especially like if you're trying to listen to YouTube to a video and I'm trying to show people and I try to turn on the audio, you can't hear it through the Ethernet.
Patrick, thank you for bringing that up about Link. I did mention Link, but I didn't expand on it, and that makes a lot of sense because for those that are hearing and that do not have a video phone, it's great to have Link because it does have the web capability, so you can see other people there, and then of course you could use a sign language interpreter who could also be there facilitating conversation as well. Great point.
Thank you.
I have a question about links. I didn't think that it was mandatory that all employees use it.
I can understand your question, but that might be out of scope of this conversation. That's OEC, I think, issue, is it not?
It's not mandatory that someone use it, but it is a great resource to use.
Yeah, as long as they're using it. I have staff that don't use it, so it's hard for me to use that option.
Well, definitely, if you think it might be a great resource, request that they do.
This is Patrick here. Yeah, I believe that is in regards to what we're talking about. It's important for them to have accessibility, especially if I'm hosting a meeting and it's through Link. Then they would need to have Link on their system to be able to connect into our meeting.
Yeah, but the young lady was asking if CMS employees were required to utilize Link. There had been some discussion with the union and management about, especially those who are teleworking, that they must or are required to use Link. And we have Link. It is a great tool. It is a great recommendation tool. But if it's a requirement, I think there's a discussion that's out of scope for this conversation. That's all I'm saying.
This is Patrick. That makes sense.
Hi, can I ask a question? I have a question regarding the screen readers. I'm a screen reader user,
Sure.
but I find it very difficult with WebEx. Sometimes when I'm on a WebEx meeting, people can hear my screen reader going off. Is there a fix for that with the WebEx software that is going to happen soon, or
Well,
I have some conflict using the screen reader
it's probably
with WebEx.
Yeah, it's probably not necessarily a WebEx question more than probably you should think about using some headsets so that you can reroute where the screen reader audio is going. There are some inherent accessibility concerns with interplay with a screen reader, but in terms of how your audio is rendered, that's not really one of them. I would definitely again look into putting in a headset or some headphones. Or what have you. So
yeah, I'm using that actually. I am using a headset, but it still goes through the same output, I guess.
Okay, so what's happening is your screen. You obviously have a single sound card on your laptop, and the screen reader's audio is being fed through that into the WebEx. So, that's more of a That's more of a technical concern rather than just there being an accessibility issue. If you had two sound cards on your system, you'd be able to reroute the audio of JAWS to another sound card or what have you. And of course, I don't want to suggest that you temporarily mute your screen reader because you want to be able to use it while you're on the conference. So that's
what I end up doing, muting it, and it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
who should I contact regarding this? Because I know this started happening with the update to WebEx.
Well, what I would say,
I didn't have any.
My recommendation to you would be is that you and your manager write a justification to get a USB external sound card, so that in the situations when you do use WebEx, it's literally plug and play. You can insert this USB sound card, you can go into your JAWS settings, reroute the audio through that extra sound card, and then that problem will evaporate. But that's unfortunately your only recourse here.
Okay, thank you.
That way WebEx will be dependent on the default sound card, and you can use the external sound card, USB sound card, to render the screen reader audio elsewhere.
Yeah, I think it's also happening with Link also. When we changed the Link to the other software.
Yeah, the same guidance would apply, that you're going to need a secondary sound card, a secondary sound source to reroute that audio.
Okay, and that would be routed through the management here? Or through special accommodations?
Well, you could submit a service request as an accommodation, and whatever the justification process is, you would follow that. But go ahead and submit a request to receive, a USB sound card as an accommodation, and OEOCR, where Susanna works, will work hand in hand with you with that, and it'll end up coming. I'm the assistive technology lead for CMS. So it'll end up circling around to our desk, and we'll definitely work with OEOCR to make sure that the right device is identified for you.
Who's this speaking again? I'm sorry.
My name is Mario Bonds.
Oh, hi Mario. Yeah, this is Roberto.
Oh, Roberto.
Right.
Roberto Diaz. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll go ahead and submit the request.
Oh, fantastic. Good to hear your voice again, Roberto.
Any other questions online?
I have another question regarding the Link conversation that you were having. It's interesting that Link and some other of the software that we're using is difficult for some CMS employees to use, and the assumption has been because of the assistive technology on those computers. And it's difficult to know whether that is happening in isolation or if it is something commonly experienced by other CMS employees. And that, I'm sure, is because of the privacy associated with reasonable accommodation requests. But I have found Link and SharePoint, Adobe Connect, and WebEx to be difficult with my software. And so I can appreciate some employees, whether that's their reason or not, saying I don't want to use Link because for me personally it has been difficult with my assistive technology. So how can we know if that's something that's experienced in isolation or if other employees are having similar difficulties?
I would suggest that's something you could do offline to Susanna and me, and certainly Susanna's more professional role in accommodations, but as a matter of conversing with the DERG on these kinds of issues in general. Any other questions online? So if there's no other questions, we'll wait another second. The next installment of this, which is more focused on managers, will be February 21st. Same sorts of topics we've covered today, but from a manager's perspective. And thanks to our speakers for this first part of the sessions in February, and to Susanna and the team. And see you, if you're a manager, I guess, on Tuesday, February 21st. If not, also in April on the 4th and the 18th, when we're delving into Section 508, and Mr. Allen will be our key or featured speaker then.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Hey, wait. Are you guys shutting down the meeting?
No, go ahead. Real quick.
I just this is Brian Petrie, and I work in the cars on the cars team in OHI, and I just want to know if you guys had any comments that you could give about the new Section 508 rules that came out from the Access Board, talking about the WCAG standard and things of that nature. Do you have any preliminary? I mean, it just came out. It's hot off the press. We just learned about it ourselves recently, and I just wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts, information, or feedback. And I was watching on YouTube, so I couldn't call, so I had to jump and call in to get the question in. I'm sorry.
So I appreciate the
Would
question.
you like a technical?
I
Would
would
you like a
suggest you follow up with.
technical, or would you like a policy?
Hey, I'll ask for it all and see what I get. I mean, these are, I guess, our new standards that have been ideal standards that not everybody is doing, and I guess we have a year to adopt these standards, or if we make any change to an assistive device, we're required to incorporate the standards right away. I mean, I just read a summary of the rules, so I just wanted to get any feedback or any information you have about this new development. I'm very ignorant about this issue right now, so I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
Brian,
so anything you can provide is a.
So Brian, in terms of I think technical specifications, or more so like information awareness raising, that's Mr. Allen's bailiwick and really April's focus. Although I think I would suggest you follow up with Mr. Allen offline as to the policy, and if we're judging it qualitatively, that's perhaps outside the scope of the DERG.
Okay.
But certainly, if you want to have an informal conversation about that,
we can talk more.
Yeah, we could talk more.
Okay, and I'm sorry, and who's that? You said it was Allen who?
Aaron Allen.
Oh, Darren Allen.
Aaron. Aaron.
Okay, and then Allen?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Aaron, shouldn't he be able to contact his clearance officer and his component, and they should be able to give him the link to all of that, like we did last week?
Brayon, repeat that question.
I say shouldn't he be able to reach out to his clearance officer and get that information, because the link of what he's requesting was inside the agenda for the meeting that we had, and also
the clearance officers at this time will not have the information he is seeking. The new Section 508 rules that came out have preliminary impact, significant impact on CMS, and I think he's looking for just where we headed. We are implementing the new rules. We are moving to test and adapt testing procedures, which is really where the impact is. The other impacts are dealing with how the standards are implemented and how the standards are applied into what. But that's all coming forth.
Okay. Very good. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate it. And I will be in touch with you. I do have a meeting this afternoon, so if you don't hear from me today, you'll probably hear from me like tomorrow. But I would love just to get your take on it, because it's something that's very new for our team.
Understand.
If there's no other questions, thank you for paying such close attention, and for the comments, for the questions, for your involvement.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. We're done. That's a wrap.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Nice to meet you, Teresa. How's it going?
See you later.
Bye, Mario.
Hi, how are you, Brian?
Oh, he's a grandson.
Yes, he is.
Just see me.
Oh,
Yes, you are. You're lovely. You're lovely. Yes, you are.
oh, yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
are. Oh, goodness.
Oh, goodness, Violet. Come on, brother, Violet.
Did you see
Oh, buddy.
that?
Big stretch.
Thank
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye, Mario.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Okay. But I'm wondering,
And I'm sitting there, I don't know.
so you saw my screen and the room.
I saw you on the phone, and I saw Mario on them.
Okay.
But, so I was like, but what problem is that the invite wasn't clear.